Hi, good morning, Christ Community Church. Thank you for having me again. I'm going to be covering the woman at the well. A little context behind this before I start reading this. Although the road through Samaria was the shortest route from Jerusalem to Galilee, Jews often avoided it because there was a deep distrust and dislike between many of the Jews and Samaritans. The Jews thought very lowly of the Samaritans because they were mixed in religiously and culturally speaking with the Babylonians. They had and intermarried with a lot of the Assyrians and Babylons when they got conquered it in 7022 BC and intermarrying with them. The Samaritans' mixing of Jewish faith with various other superstitions from Babylon and Assyria made Jews see them as outcasts, and they were actually hated more than the actual Gentiles at some points. And the Jews later on burned their temple that they had built for Yahweh around 128 BC. So as you can see, there was a lot of bad blood between these two groups, hence why the Jews would avoid traveling through Samaria. Even though the route from Jerusalem to Galilee would take them through the region beyond the Jordan, which was a lot longer. Jesus, however, needed to go through Samaria, not because of practical reasons, but because there was a need there. The people of Samaria were thirsty and they were dying spiritually. They needed water. I'll be reading John 4:5-10. So he came to a town of Samaria called Shafar, near the field that Jacob had given to his son Joseph. Jacob's well was there, so Jesus wearied, so as from his journey was sitting beside the well. It was about the 6th hour. Women from Samaria came to draw water. Jesus said to her, "Give me a drink," for his disciples had gone away into the city to buy food. The Samaritan woman said to him, "How is it that you, a Jew, ask for a drink from me, a woman of Samaria? For Jews have no dealings with Samaritans." Jesus answered her, "If you knew the gift of God and who it is that is saying to you, 'Give me drink,' you would have asked him, and he would have given you living water." So some quick things to note. The woman came for water at a very weird time, an unusual time, and she was by herself. Typically, women would come in groups at an earlier time of the day, which was a lot cooler. And they would, like I said, would come in groups. Maybe she had a need, or maybe she was a social outcast, shunned by the other women in her community. How many of us sometimes shun our fellow community members too? It's sad, and it goes against what Jesus teaches, and all because of bad blood we might have had in the past. A second thing to keep in mind is, by religious traditions, a rabbi would not speak with a woman in public. This was a no-no. Rabbis couldn't even speak with their own wives in public, not to mention also very unusual for a Jewish person to be speaking with a Samaritan, like having covered the background that they had with each other. They just really didn't like each other. She was genuinely mind blown by this, but Jesus, like always, sets the example for us to follow and breaks strongholds of religious tradition and bad practices. Luke 10:30-34 says, Jesus replied, "A man was going down from Jerusalem to Jericho, and he fell among robbers, who stripped him and beat him and departed, leaving him half dead. Now by chance the priest was going down the road, and when he saw him, he passed by on the other side. So likewise a Levite was, when he came to a place, saw him pass by on the other side. But Samaritans, as he journeyed, and when he saw him, he had compassion, and he went to him and bound up his wounds." Which of these three proved to be a neighbor to this man, who showed him mercy? Be likewise, Jesus said. Some people have a strong belief that God is most glorified when human participation is most excluded, when we're not involved. The thing is, this is not true. Jesus did not diminish his glory one bit by asking the help and the cooperation of the Samaritan woman as they worked towards the accomplishment of divine purpose of hydrating a thirsty soul. And she needed water. And not just the woman, but it also served as a domino effect. Jesus' impact on her echoed across Samaria, letting the people know that the provision was there, that Jesus was there and that they didn't have to thirst no more. The Father and the Son were most glorified in this day because of the display of living, of love and goodness to the women, the social outcasts in the community. My encouragement today for you, my church, my community, is to follow Jesus' example and reach out to the people we have outcast and shunned, because they are just as thirsty as we once were. They need water, and not just water, but living water. So go out there and be the hands of God. Bring your neighbor a cup of refreshing living water like Jesus taught us. Be the community of Christ. You might even reach your destination faster because you chose to go through Samaria, the route hardly anyone chooses. So today, follow Jesus.